All right, Rabbi, say good morning. We have a beautiful daf ahead of us today. Our daf today is Chavches 28. A lot to do. We are picking up at the Mishnah on Chav Zayin with base 27b. We thank our sponsors for our learning this morning. Our Talmud Torah sponsors, Frank and Debbie Spector, in deep gratitude to the entire Kehillah. Paul and Kathy Pollack for dedicating the Torah this month in memory of Paul's father Shmuel ben Zechariah, his mother Sarah bas Avram, and great-grandmother Cyril bas Reb Dov. Our week of learning sponsors, Naftali and Bela Langer, in the Zechus of a Refuah Shalema for Yisrael Zeb ben Malka, Sarah Fega bas Bela Susia. We thank all of our sponsors, the Neshama Shav and Aliyah. Those who require a refuah should have one together with Kol Chole Yisrael. And also with that, let us begin. A very exciting brand new Mishnah ahead of us today. So we're picking up 27b, the Mishnah. Whatever comes from a tree, we actually saw this already referenced in last Gemara. Whatever comes from a tree should not be used for kindling purposes except for flax. Look at Rashi. Ein madlikin lasos psila mikanvos ubeged kanvos umitzemer. So Rashi says this is actually talking about over here what materials you could use for a wick. So right, so you can't go ahead and use anything that comes from a tree for a wick, except for pishtan, except for flax. Now again, we'll discuss how it is or why it is that we're calling flax a tree. That we'll get to in the Gemara. Furthermore, anything that comes from a tree does not become tameh, does not become ritually impure from what we call tent or house tumah, or really better stated, roof tumah. Now, what does this mean? Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. So Rashi says, "Eidam etame tumas olim im asa mehen oel v'ameis tachtas." So we'll say, listen to this. So let's say you have something that comes from a tree, and you made a roof. And that now there's a corpse underneath that roof. Havi kishar bayis ve'in tzarich lahatbil ha'oel atzmo delo kibel tuma ela kelim shetachta. So we'll say this is actually very interesting. So remember, we're familiar with this. Let's say a typical case: you have a corpse, someone dies in a house. So they're in a house with a whole bunch of stuff. So remember again, what's the halacha? The halacha is that any kelim, any utensils that are inside of that house ultimately again become tameh. That's the halacha. Now what's interesting to note is the kelim become tameh, but why? Because they're all under the same roof. So essentially, if you could imagine, the roof diffuses the tumah. It spreads the tumah everywhere. But lemaisa, the roof itself does not contract tumah. The roof itself is not tameh. So therefore the Mishnah says as follows: anything that comes from a tree, kol yotzeh min ha'etz, essentially, anything that comes from a tree acts as a regular roof to go ahead and disperse the tumah, right? And disperse the tumah amongst anything, but yet does not actually become tameh itself, with the exception of flax. That if you were to go ahead and have a roof made of flax, so not only does the flax roof kind of disperse the tumah to anything underneath the roof, but what? The flax roof itself also becomes tameh. So once you hear this, so under normal circumstances, if you have a roof made of any tree derivative, which generally means like wood, so that roof has the ability to disperse the tumah to anything under it, but the roof never becomes tameh, except for flax, that if you make a roof out of flax, not only does the roof disperse the tumah, right, causing everything under the roof to become tameh, but the roof itself also becomes tameh. Good, let's analyze. Says the Gemara, Minalon Pishtan Ikri 8. So first of all, the Gemara says, how do you know that flax is called a tree? Right, that's a pretty novel thing. Flax, I would think, is more like a plant than a tree. So how do you know that it's called a tree? To which the Gemara says, Amar Marzutra da Amar Kra, Vihi ha'lasam ha'gaga, Batit menem bepishte ha'etz. So this is actually incredible. This is from Sefer Yoshua, right in the beginning of the book of Joshua, the beginning of Sefer Yoshua. So remember again, Yoshua sends in another set of spies. This story ends much better than the first one. Another set of spies into Eretz Yisrael, into Canaan, and they are hidden by a woman by the name of Rachav. So the pasuk says that she hid them, she brought them up to the roof, and she hid them bepishte ha'etz. she hid them in the flax trees. So you see from here, you see from here that flax is considered to be like an eight, considered to be like a tree. Okay, furthermore, again, in general, anything that comes from a tree that is then made into a roof. So we'll say, so remember again, it's not metame tumas olim. So remember, let's keep in mind what this means. What this means is if you build a roof from any material that comes from a tree, in general, again, if someone dies under that roof works to disperse tumah to anything under the roof. But the roof itself does not become tameh, with one notable exception, and that is pishtan. If you make a roof out of flax, so the roof works to disperse tumah to everything under it, but the roof itself will also become tameh. So it says the Gemara Minalan, from where do you know this? Amra Belazar, Gamra Ohel mi Mishkan. We learn out this Gzer Shavav Ohel from the Mishkan, top of Chavches. So we'll listen to this. Mi Mishkan, Dolo Havibe Shum Yotze Min Ha'etz Ela Pishtan Kedichsiv Asir Yoshtesh Mashar. And remember again, the Mishkan had a roof, right? But the roof of the Mishkan was flax, was linen. Right, as we're going to see. So remember, the Mishkan did not have like a solid roof. It had a series actually of covers made out of material. So it says over here, Zos Satara Adam Kiyamus Ba'ohel. So it says over here, right by the halachos of Tumas Meis. This is the law if a person will die in the tent. Uksif Hassam, and it says by the Mishkan, it says by the Mishkan, Vayifros Es HaOhel Al HaMishkan. It says they spread out the ohel on the Mishkan. I will say, and remember, in this context, the ohel refers to the roof. The roof of the Mishkan are these linen, well, they're made of other materials also, but linen roof. So the Gemara says, Ma'ala halon shel pishon karoi ohel, just like by the Mishkan, a covering of flax or a covering of linen is called an ohel, is called a tent. Afkan shel pishtan karoi ohel. So we'll say, so just like, so there's a Gzer Shava essentially between Tumas Meis and the Mishkan. Just like ohel by Mishkan refers to the flax cover, so too ohel by Tumas Meis refers to a flax cover as well, to teach you that even if you have a roof of flax, that roof of flax has the ability to disperse the tumah to anything that is under the same roof as the mace. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Imar lahalon shazurin v'chutan kafel vav. Afkan shazurin v'chutan kafel vav. So we'll say, but 1 second. By the Mishkan, right? By the Mishkan. So remember, each thread was really I don't know what the right word is, but multi-corded, right? Meaning each thread itself was made up of multiple smaller threads that were intertwined. So if you're going to make a Gzer Shava, why don't you say that just like by the ohel, by the Mishkan, ultimately is made up of multi-corded threads, so too again by the ohel HaMeis, right? In order for a flax roof to count as a roof, ultimately what? It should have to have a 6-ply or 6-corded thread. Talmud Lomar, ohel riba. Therefore, we'll say again, the Torah repeats the word ohel, ultimately again to be marbe, right? Meaning the redundancy, or not redundancy, but the repetition of the word ohel by tumas meis, by ritual impurity, by a corpse, teaches me that even other types of ohel have the ability to spread this tumah. So we'll say what's happening over here is a fascinating limud. On one hand, step 1 is a Gzer Shava between Tumas Meis and the Mishkan, to teach me that just as the Mishkan ultimately again had a roof of linen, and that's called an ohel, so too when the Torah speaks about the ability of a roof to disperse tumah to anything under the same roof with the corpse, it also refers to a linen roof. But then by Tumas Meis, the Torah says the word ohel repeated times to come to include other forms of coverings as well. Specifically, that even the linen roof need not exactly resemble the linen roof of the Mishkan. Because whereas the linen roof of the Mishkan, each thread was a 6-ply or 6-corded thread, you don't need that by Tumas Meis. Ohel riba. So I don't understand that that's the case. That lamaisa ohel riba. Then I have a riboy. The repetition of the word ohel by Tumas Meis teaches me that even other things could form or could serve as a roof. Why don't I say afilu kol mili? So let's go ahead and include all types of roofs, right? Why are you just limiting it then just to pishkan? Maybe it refers to other things as well. Imkin gezer shava mayahani. If that's the case, that you're going to start including things other than pishtan, right, other than flax, then what good is the gezer shava? Ve'ima, so why don't I say the following? Ve'ima ma lahalon krashim afkan krashim. So why don't I say that just like by the Mishkan had krashim, right? The Mishkan had boards. So why don't I say that ultimately, again, just like the Mishkan had boards, and that which are made of wood, and that wood is called an ohel, so too by Tumas Meis, wood could also be called an ohel, to which the Gemara says, Amar Kra Vasisa Krashim LeMishkan. Because the Pasuk says, you shall make krashim, right? You shall make boards for the Mishkan, which teaches me what? Mishkan Karoi Mishkan, Vein Krashim Karoi Mishkan. Suppose that he's teaching a very important lesson. The Mishkan is called the Mishkan. The boards are not called the Mishkan. So we'll say what that means is that ultimately, again, the boards are a feature of the Mishkan, but they do not define the essence of the Mishkan. Because they don't define the essence of the Mishkan, you can't learn, therefore, to Tumas Meis, that a roof made of boards would ultimately conduct Tuma as well. Alamei Ata, but if that's the case, Alamei Ata, Biasisa Michse La'ohel, Hachanami, so the Gemara says, if that's the case, when the pasuk says you shall make a cover for the ohel, so we'll say, so remember again, that's referring to the curtains that covered the ohel. So remember, now what we're saying is, well, maybe the linen cover of the Mishkan is also not called the Mishkan, that's called the Michse. Hachanami Michse Lo Ikre Ohel. And so we'll say, so therefore again, it's called the Michse, it's not called an ohel. Ella Hadibai Rebbe Lazar, or Ella Hadibai Rebbe Lazar. So we'll say, rather, the Gemara segues a little bit. The Gemara says, rather, let's focus on this question of Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says, or behema tamea, mahu sheyitma ba'ohel hameis. Well, so listen to this interesting question. What happens if halacha l'maisa, you have the skin of a non-kosher animal? Does that have the ability to conduct tumah? So we'll say, what happens if you go ahead and you make a roof of skin of non-kosher animal? So does the skin of that non-kosher animal have the ability to convey tumas ohel? Okay, so we'll say, so let's remember, the reason why the Gemara is asking this question, you're going to see, is because so much of the din, of the concept, the halachic definition of ohel is going to come from Mishkan. So listen to this interesting question. So the Gemara says, let's analyze. So hashta, or behema tahora lo mitama, or bahama tameya mibai. So we'll say, if ultimately, again, if we're going to say that the hide of a kosher animal does not become tameh, so ultimately again, will the or of a behema tameya become tameh? Shani hasam the hadr ahadre kra. We'll say it's different there by the Mishkan. Why is it different by the Mishkan? Dichse v'nasu asirios hamishkan ve'es ohel moed michsehu umichse hatachash asher alav. Because we'll say the pasuk says they will carry the curtains of the Mishkan, the Ohel Moed and its covering, and the covering of the tachash that was on top of it. So we're going to see, remember, there were multiple layers of roofing, so to speak, on the Mishkan. One of those layers was a layer of the tachash, the skin of the tachash. We're going to discuss the tachash in just a little bit. But the Gemara says, what do you see from here? Makish elyon litachton. Ultimately, again, the Torah equates the upper covering to the lower covering. Matachton kari ohel, just like the lower covering is called an ohel, and that was made of linen. Af alyon kari ohel. So too, ultimately, again, the upper ones, which were made of animal hides, were kosher animals, were ultimately again considered to be an ohel as well. Fine. So we'll say, suggest you appreciate what's happening over here. For our purposes, just to keep clear on the sugya. Remember, the Mishnah introduced us to this concept that under normal circumstances, a roof has the ability to disperse tumah to anything under it, but the roof itself does not become tameh. Does not become tameh, with one exception to this rule. And the one exception to this rule is pishtan, that if you have a roof made of flax, not only ultimately again does the rooftop, not only do the items underneath the roof become tameh, but the roof itself contracts ritual impurity as well. And the Gemara learns that out from a limud between the halachos of tumas ohel and the Mishkan. Good. Gufa, by Rabbi Lazar. So we'll say, so now we're going to focus a little bit more on animal hides. Or behema tamea, mahu sheyitma tumas olin. We'll say, what happens if you have a rooftop made of non-kosher animal hide? So I have an animal hide roof, but I don't see a non-kosher animal. So we'll say, so now somebody dies in that ohel. Somebody dies in that tent. So what is the status of the ohel? When we see the roof, does the roof have the ability to contract tuma or not? So the Gemara says, "Ar behema tamea mashit matumas olin." It says the Gemara, "My kami boile." So what's your question? Now look at Rashi. My kami boile, hami mishkan gamarla Rebbe Lazar lael b'reish shmaitin v'hasam Torah. So we'll say, remember again, if we're learning about the ability of a roof to contract tuma from the Mishkan had animal hides as one layer of its roof, but only used what? Kosher animals. So if you only used kosher animals, what is the Gemara asking? It's obvious then that a roof made of non-kosher animal hide would not contract tumah. So what's the shayla? To which the Gemara says, Amrav Adavar Ava. So we'll listen to this. This is really fascinating. Tachash shahaya b'mei Moshe kami boile. So we'll say the Gemara is asking about a specific animal called the tachash. The tachash was an animal that existed during the times of Moshe. And the Gemara is also going to say that this tachash was a unique, miraculous animal. It's quite amazing. So the Gemara is asking, Tamehaya or Tarhaya? So I'm going to give you a little bit of coming attractions. The Gemara is going to teach us about this tachash animal that apparently was just created for the purpose of providing its hide to the Mishkan. And again, after the Mishkan was built, the animal, I don't know if it became extinct or it just was hidden away. So this tachash animal, so the Gemara asks, the special tachash animal who was created so that its hide could be used ultimately again for the Mishkan. So was it tameh or was it tahar? Was it a kosher or non-kosher animal? Amar Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef said, Maiti baile, what's the kasha? What's the shayla? Tanina, lo hochshur lo melech hashamayim ela ar behema taharos bilvad. Remember again, it says Rav Yosef, I don't understand. We learned explicitly that whenever it comes to the use of animal hides for any type of religious service or for any type of religious instruments or objects, the halacha is you must always go ahead and use the hide of a kosher animal. So if the tachash hide, we're going to see this more in Amud Beis, if the tachash hide was used for the Mishkan, then by definition what? It must be a kosher animal. To which the Gemara says, Ella ar behema tahora bilvad. I'm sorry. So it says obviously the tachash must have been a kosher animal. Masiv Rabbi Huda Omer Shnei Michsaos Hayu. In reality, Rabbi saying there were two coverings for the Mishkan. Echad shel oros elim ma'adamim. One cover was made out of ram's skins that were dyed red. This ram's skins that were dyed red. Ve'echad shel oros techashim. And a second layer was made out of the hides of the tachash animal. Rabbi Nechemia says, no, michse echad haya. Really, it was only one cover. It was one cover made of, Rashi says, chetziav shel elim v'chetziav shel tchashim. Right? In fact, it was only one cover made partially out of the skins of rams that were dyed red, and the other part made out of the skins of the tachash. V'hayadome kimin tala ilan. And I will say it was like the tala ilan. Now, look at Rashi's moment. Tala ilan means chaya temehi uminumeres bigvanim. So we will say tala ilan, Rashi says, is the name of a non-kosher animal that apparently is spotted and multicolored. So it sounds like what the Gemara is saying over here is the cover of the Mishkan was made half of ram skins that was dyed red and half of tachash skins. And it looked like this animal called the Tala Ilan, which was a multicolored animal. Says the Gemara, Tala Ilan Tamehu. But I understand Tala Ilan is a non-kosher animal. Why would the covering of the Mishkan have the appearance of a hide of a non-kosher animal? No. Hachi Kamar, Kemin Tala Ilanhu, Sheyesh Bo Gavnin Harbe. Rather, the Gemara says it didn't look like the Tala Ilan, but rather just like the Tala Ilan has many colors, so too again the covering of the Mishkan had many colors. It must have been incredibly beautiful, right? The coloration of it, the multicolors of it. So the Gemara says, "Velo tala ilan." So the Gemara says, "I'm sorry, Hal Gemara Kivin tala ilan hu sheish will gavna harbe velo tala ilan tilo hasam tame v'hachatar." But obviously, again, the covering didn't have anything to do with the tala ilan. Why not? Because the tala ilan was a non-kosher animal, and obviously anything used in the production of the roof of the Mishkan, or for that matter, anything used in the production of the Mishkan in general, could only come from the source of a kosher animal. Amar Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef says, "Ihachi hainu demetargaminan sasgona." Rabbi Yosef says, interestingly enough, this is why if you look at Onkelos, when Onkelos describes the covering of the Mishkan, Onkelos uses the word sasgona. The Targum uses the word sasgona. What does sasgona mean? It's a contraction for shesas begavnin harbe, something that rejoices in many colors. So I will say it must have been a beautiful sight. So the covering of the Mishkan, again, well, we have a machlokes of if it was two covers or one cover. First opinion says it was one cover of ram skins that were reddened, right? That were dyed red, and the second cover ultimately again was made of tachash skin. Second opinion says no, it was one cover, half of reddened ram skins and the other half of tachash skins, and it was multicolored, so it was beautiful, just like the tali ilan animal, which is not kosher and not used, was multicolored. So too this cover was multicolored as well. So the Gemara goes right. The Rava Amar Rava says, or behema tmeya. So we'll say Rava says the truth is, if you have a roof made of the hide of a non-kosher animal, it does in fact, and it serves as a roof, it does in fact become tameh. Not only does it disperse tumah to everything under it, but the roof itself becomes tameh as well. Where do we know this from? Mehacha, Desanya, O Ba'ar. So we'll say, so the pasuk over that the Gemara is quoting over here is O B'shesi, O Be'erev L'Pishnim V'Latzemer, O Ba'ar. So we'll say this is talking about saras. So the pasuk says O Ba'ar, or on a hide. So the Gemara says Riba or Behema Tameya. That comes to include what? That comes to include non-kosher hide. That I will say if you have a bit of tsaras on a non-kosher hide, that is problematic tsaras as well. So the fact that a non-kosher hide could contract tsaras, Rava is suggesting means that what also could also contract tumas hameis when it serves as a roof. The shalaka biyada kohen. And ultimately, again, Rashi says, "Mishalaka biyad kohen, misheru biyad kohen v'nasa nega mitchilo haya nega." I'll say if something was presented to the kohen for the kohen to examine the nega, and when it first arrived in his hand, it did not have any negoim, but then it changes while it's in his hand. That's also called saras. Katzatz mikulan va'achas va'asa me'achas mehen minayin. So we'll say what happens in the following case. Rashi says katzatz mikulan mikala amur b'pasef v'chibran yachad shratz metamis. So we'll say what happens if a person goes ahead and pieces together, right, a little bit from all of these things and puts them into one thing. So Talmud Lomar o b'chol meleches are, or for anything ultimately again that you make out of leather. So we'll say you see from here that halacha l'maisa, that whether you have a hide of a non-kosher animal or a non-kosher animal hide is part of a larger hide, that halacha l'maisa, it has the ability to contract tumah. V'ika l'mifrach. So we'll say, now remember, all Rava proved, though, I just want to point out, Rava is speaking in a very specific context, which is tsaras. And Rava is saying that a non-kosher hide, meaning a hide from a non-kosher animal, has the ability to contract tumas saras. Now, Rava's globalizing that after it could contract tumas saras. That shows you that a non-kosher hide could contract other forms of tumah as well. Specifically, that if you have a non-kosher hide serving as a roof and there's a corpse underneath that roof, not only could the hide disperse the tumah to everything underneath the roof, but the roof itself becomes tameh. To which the Gemara says, 1 second, but I could raise a pircha, you know, you can't necessarily learn out from tzaras to other things because tzaras has some incredible chumras. Namely, that tzaras applies to even the most smallest basic unit, right? If you have the warp in the woof, tiny little bit of fabric, so tzaras could impact that little bit of fabric. Ela gamer mishratzim. Rather, I can learn that from tumas shratzim. Disanya or ainly ela ar behema tahora ar behema tameya minayin. But say the pasuk by shratzim says that a hide can become tameh if it comes in contact with a dead sheretz. So I only know that that's a kosher hide. How do I know even about a non-kosher hide? To which the Gemara says, Talmud Lomar, O-R. Pasuk says O. Rabbi say whenever you see O, always come to be marbe. It comes to include something. So ainly so the Gemara says O. Or v'ikal mifrach malashratzim shekim etamin bechadasha. I will say I can bring up here. Maybe I can't learn out from tumas sheretz to tumas meis. Why? Because remember, tumas sheretz has a chumrah. What's the chumrah? It's metame. A sheretz can convey tuma even if the sheretz is tiny. Even if the sheretz is tiny, bechadasha, the size of a lentil. So maybe you can't learn out from sheretz to other things. To which the Gemara says negaim yochichu. You're right. You can learn out from tsaras. To which the Gemara says it can't learn out from tsaras because of the reasons we said before. The chazra din lo reizeh kireizeh, v'lo reizeh kireizeh. So we'll say in reality the cases are very dissimilar. But what is the common denominator? Zeh tzara shava shebahen she'or tamei bahen v'asa or behema tameya ka'or behema tahora. So we'll say the common denominator between shratzim and tsaras is what? That in both cases the hide of a non-kosher animal is treated like the hide of a kosher animal. So we'll say what we know is both by tsaras as well as by tumas shratzim, the tumah conveyed by rodents, creepy, crawly things, both of them can convey tumah to the hide of a non-kosher animal. That's the common denominator. Once I have that common denominator, let me apply that principle. I'll say also what? Afani avi ohel ames she'ar tami bo v'naasa or behema tameya ka'ar behema Torah. So to Rabbi said the next logical step is if it's true that a non-kosher hide is treated like a kosher hide when it comes to the tumah of shratzim and when it comes to the tumah of tsaras, so to a non-kosher hide should be treated like a kosher hide when it comes to the halachos of tumas meis, and ultimately again the non-kosher hide it could act as a roof to disperse tumah. But the non-kosher hide also becomes tamei itself when it is roofing itself over a corpse. To which the Gemara says, Amrli Rava mi barnish Ravashi ikal mifrach. I don't understand. I could raise another kasha. I could go ahead. I can go and raise a kasha to this, which is ikal mifrach malas ala shava shabahin shein tamei pachos mikizayis. As well as shratzim, both convey tumah. Even if you have less than a kizayis, right? Even if you're less than a kizayis. For example, I'll say no sheret is bechadasha, so nigim, right? Is amud beis asya b'kavachomer minotza shal izin. Rather, we can bring a kavachomer ultimately again from the wool of goats. She'in metamim b'negoim, because I will say the halacha is that the wool of goats does not contract tumas negoim. And yet, mitame ba'ol ames. And yet, I will say, halacha l'maisa, if you have a roof made of wool, so that roof does have the ability to, in fact, what? To, in fact, go ahead and spread and contract tumas meis. Rashi says, mitame ba'ol ames, emaso ohel. Right? If you make a woolen roof, so that woolen roof has the ability to go ahead and convey and contract. So the Gemara says, or behema tameya, shematame b'negoim, so to Rabbi, we could say that if wool which is not receptive to the tumah of tsaras, yet it could contract tumas ohel, so certainly the hide of a non-kosher animal which can contract tumas tsaras can certainly become tamei with tumas ohel. Ve'ela hadetani Rav Yosef lo hochshiru b'melecha shamayim ela or behema Torah bilvad. So just so you understand. So now both say effectively what the Gemara says is you're right. That halacha l'maisa, a non-kosher hide, if it serves as a roof, has the ability to contract tumas meis. Which means if you have a roof made of a non-kosher hide, not only does that non-kosher hide have the ability to disperse tumah to anything under it, but it actually contracts tumas meis as well. So fine. So now that we said that, so we'll say, so here was the problem. We made a statement earlier on. Rav Yosef said, Rav Yosef, when he wanted to say that halacha l'maisa, non-kosher hide, cannot contract tumas meis, the statement he made was lo hochshiru lebemelecha shamayim ela or behema Torah bilbad, that when it comes to anything that is of spiritual service, only a hide from a kosher animal is receptive, is fit. So we'll say, so Rav Yosef said that in a way of kind of removing a non-kosher hide from the halachas of tumas meis, right? That's halacha. So non-kosher has nothing to do with halacha. But now we just proved that that's not the case. A non-kosher hide is subject to the halacha of tumas meis. So then, what did Rabbi Yosef mean when he said lo hochsheru b'malecha shamay ela ar behemat bilvad, that you could only use a kosher hide for the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? L'may hilchasa. What does that statement? Rabbi say, watch this. What does that statement mean? L'tfilin. Rabbi means that when you make your tefillin, Rabbi now bepashtos, what the Gemara is talking about over here is the parshios. When you write the parshios that go into your tefillin, so the parshios must be written on the hide of a kosher animal. To which the Gemara says, tefillin, behedjik sibu, tefillin, that's obvious. That's obvious, because what I say by tefillin, lemantia Torah Hashem beficha. Right, the pasuk says that ultimately, again, the Torah of Hashem should be in your mouth. So we'll say, which of course the pasuk means that you should always be speaking divrei Torah. The Gemara darshans it to mean min hamoter beficha. That I will say the only thing you could use for religious service is that which you are permitted to consume. If you could eat it, you could use it. Therefore, halacha l'maisa, when writing the parshios of tefillin, they have to be written on a parchment. It's obvious that the parchment that you have to use is what? Parchment that comes from a kosher animal. Ela la'oran. So you're right, it's not for the parashas, but rather, again, it's coming to teach us that the leather used to create the boxes, the bottom of the tefillin, must ultimately come from the hide of a kosher animal. To which the Gemara says, Abaye said, 1 second, shin shel tefillin, halacha l'Moshe misinai. It will say the shin that we have on the shel rosh, right? And the idea that on one side it's three-pronged, on the other side it's four-pronged. That is ultimately, again, a halacha l'Moshe misinai. That is a Sinaitic law. So we assume, Rabbi said, that just as, so once you say that the shin on the tefillin is a Sinaitic law, so it makes sense to say that the leather that is used for those boxes must, of course, be from a kosher animal. So therefore, again, what is Rabbi Yosef coming to teach me? Ela likarchan bisaran or letofran begidin. Rather, it must mean that what I will say, that remember, the parshios of the tefillin are tied with, or I should say, the bottom themselves are stitched with hair. I'm sorry. Lekarcham b'saran means to tie the parshios. Rashi says, El lenich rechos b'saran, Tanya lahid Rav Yosef shetzarach likshor igros haparshios b'sear or behema Torah, or the tofran begid behema Torah. So maybe the halacha is teaching me like this, that the parshios themselves have to be tied with the hair of a kosher animal, and the bottom, the boxes, must be sewn with the sinews of a kosher animal. To which the Gemara says, no, hanami halacha l'Moshe misinayu. It will say those concepts, yes, this is correct, that ultimately, again, all of these different pieces of the tefillin must come from kosher animals, but I will say that's not being learned out from a Yosef statement. That's a halacha l'Moshe misinai. This was given to Moshe Rabbeinu by HaKadosh Baruch Hu when Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah on Har Sinai. The sanyo, tefillin merubos halacha l'Moshe misinai. The concept that tefillin have to be square, that's halacha l'Moshe misinai. Nichrichu b'saron, that the parshios have to be tied with the hair of a kosher animal, and nitfaros begidin, and ultimately again that they have to be sewn with the sinews of a kosher animal. These are all halachos l'Moshe misinai. These are all Sinaitic laws that have been given over. Ella l'ritzuos. Rather, says the Gemara, you're right. Rather, what is Rabbi Yosef's statement coming to teach us? For the ritzuos. Ultimately, again, that the ritzuos, the straps of the tefillin, must come from the hide of a kosher animal. That's Rabbi Yosef is coming to teach us. V'ham Rabbi Yitzchak, ritzuos shchoros halacha l'Moshe misinai. But wait a second, we learned that the ritzuos have to be black. Where do we know that from? That is a Sinaitic law. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. So we assume that if the details regarding the coloration of the ritzuos are halacha l'Moshe misinai, then what? Then the concept that the ritzuos themselves have to be of a kosher animal is also a halacha l'Moshe misinai. To which the Gemara says, to which the Gemara says, Nehi the Gemiri shchoros Tahoros mi gemiri. I will say at the end of the day, just because the halacha l'Moshe misinai tells me that the ritzuos have to be black, does that automatically mean that the halacha l'Moshe misinai tells me that they have to be of a kosher animal? Therefore, Rav Yosef comes along and says anything that is used in the service of God must ultimately again come from a kosher animal. So my havi Allah, the Tachash. So also listen to this. So let's go back for a second, because you introduced this mysterious animal called the Tachash. This Tachash whose hide was used to create the covering of the Mishkan. So can we go back and talk about this for just a moment? My Havyallah, the Tachash Shahayi Moshe. Tell me, what happened to this Tachash animal? Because also, remember again, we don't even have a good English word for Tachash, right? There's no like English translation, because this is an animal that we don't have anymore today. So the Gemara says, no, what happened to the Tachash that existed during the days of Moshe Rabbeinu, whose hide was used to go ahead and create a roof for the Mishkan? To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Rabbi Meir, Tachash Shaibi Moshe, the Tachash animal that existed during the days of Moshe Rabbeinu, Beria Bifnei Atzmahaya. It ultimately, again, it was its own unique creation. And again, Chazal were never able to classify it. Is it a chaya or is it a behema? And I will say, now it was a kosher animal. Now remember, the designation of a chaya versus a behema really only has one major type of designation. Well, one type of designation would be for carbonic purposes. The other designation would be for kisi hadam, for covering the blood after you shecht it. You're only chayiv to cover the blood of a chaya, you're not chayiv to cover the blood of a behema. So Chazal were never able to classify it. V'karen achas haisel b'metzcha. Let's listen to this. It had one horn on its forehead. It had one horn on its forehead. So the Gemara says, "Ulefi sha'an is damin lo Moshe," and again, it was created only for the purpose of the Mishkan. So only for that time was it created. Va'asim and a Mishkan. Moshe Rabbeinu made the Mishkan, and ultimately from its hide, vinignas, and then the animal was hidden away. The animal was hidden away. So I want to say, I just want to point out something very interesting about this, just as a side point, because this often intrigued me. You know, a lot of times you read about and you hear about extinction of species, and how there's a crisis when a certain species is going to become extinct. So I'm not versed on this topic at all, but I think it's interesting to note that often that concern stems from a place assuming that every species is supposed to exist forever, like that the humpback whale is always supposed to be here. Who says? Maybe at the end of the day, certain species serve purposes at certain times, but when they run their course, they're not needed anymore. And I think the raya from that is the Tachash. Right? Chadash Baruch Hu says there's an animal that's needed in this world, ultimately, again, for a particular purpose. In this case, it was to use its hide to create the Mishkan. But after the purpose is served, so at the end of the day, I don't need it anymore. So whether Nignaz means it still exists, but it's hidden away somewhere, or Nignaz just means that it's extinct. Either way, you see this concept in the animal world of animals serving a purpose for a time, but when that purpose is no longer there, the animal is no longer necessary either. So the Gemara says, "Mitika Amar Karen Achas Haisla B'Metzcho Shamin Atar." And I will say that the fact that we identified the Tachash, that the Tachash had one horn coming out of its forehead, that tells us that ultimately, again, it's a kosher animal. How do I know that? Rabbi Yehuda, Shor Shegriv Adam Arishon Karen Achas Haisla B'Metzcho. But this is incredible. Adam Arishon offered up a shar. This is actually quite fascinating, because we'll say generally we assume that the first animal sacrifice was Noach. We generally assume it was Noach, because that's the first time the Torah records an animal sacrifice, right? The sacrifices of Cain and Hevel were not of animals; they were of wool and actually of linen, of flax. So yet the Gemara says over here that Adam Rishon did offer up a carbon. He offered up an animal, and what type of animal did he offer up? He offered up a shar, an ox that had one horn. Shneimar v'seitiv l'Hashem mishar par makrin mafris. So the Gemara says makrin tarti mashar. Now we'll say makrin means horned. Now the truth is, horned sounds like it what? Has two horns. To which the Gemara says, even though again the way it's vocalized is makrin, which means horn, it can be read mikeren. Mikeren means it has a horn. The lifshot minei de min behemo. So we'll say, so remember, now the only other time we see a one-horned animal is by the shar that Adam offered. A shar is a behema. So now that we see that the tachash was a one-horned animal as well, say that the tachash ultimately again was a behema, just like the shar that ultimately Adam went ahead and offered up. Kevan de ikakeresh de min chayuhu, the less the ela chad de keren ikalamimra min chayu. We'll say there is in the deer species. So apparently there is a one-horned deer. a one-horned deer, and that one-horned deer ultimately, again, is obviously a chaya, is obviously considered to be a chaya. Therefore, halacha l'maisa, it's possible that the tachash itself was a chaya as well. So as I said, the Gemara leaves the conversation of whether or not the tachash was a chaya or was a behema, doesn't resolve it, but l'maisa, just miraculously, there was this animal that was created ultimately just for Moshe Rabbeinu to be able to use its hide for the Mishkan. Also, you see something also that is amazing, which is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sometimes melds nature, he changes nature, he makes nature adapt in order to serve our spiritual purposes. That when a person wants to grow, when a person wants to accomplish, Halacha l'maaseh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will even change the laws of nature so as to allow us to accomplish. The world Moshe Rabbeinu needed another animal. He needed the tachash. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows the tachash to come onto the scene, its hide to be utilized as a roof for the Mishkan, and the tachash simply leaves the stage. So we'll say, let's read the Mishnah. Psilas habeget shekipla. So also remember again, so the Mishnah says over here that if you have, actually we'll stop over here for today. We'll stop over here for today with this Mishnah because it's a new sugya. I'll share with you an interesting idea on the parsha. So we'll say, so the parsha Parshas Tzav begins with a simple statement. Vaydaber Shalom Moshe lemar, Tzav is Aaron ve'esbanav lemar, zos taras ha'ola. So literally again, command Aaron and his sons to say, these are the laws of the Ola. So we'll say, so the Mefarshim pick up on the idea, why do you need the word Tzav? Why do you need the word command them? It's obvious. Moshe Rabbeinu, of course, is commanding. He's commanding Aaron. So why do you need Tzav? So Rashi points out over here, Ein Tzav ela lashon zeruz miyad uludoros. So we'll say Tzav, when you say command, so command doesn't just mean to do, but command means to do with zrizus. Command means to go ahead and do something with alacrity, with an eagerness, with a zest, with a zeal, to do it in a fast way. So Rashi says over here, so why doesn't it say Tzav by other things? Why by Ola? So Rashi says over here, quoting Rabbi Shimon, that Rabbi Shimon says Ola is different. Why? Because Ola is a carbon that is totally consumed on the Mizbeach. So we'll say, by other carbonos, that we assume the Kohanim would do it with Zrizos. Why? Because the simple reason why. Because the Kohen gets something from the carbon. Whether he gets some meat, whether he gets a hide, he gets some type of carbonic portion. But by the Ola, where the Kohen doesn't get anything, right? By the Ola, the Kohen doesn't get any portion. So therefore, again, Rashi says, Sav es Aaron. Even though you're getting nothing from this, quote unquote, you're not getting meat, you're not getting anything to eat, you're not getting any possessions, still do it with the same zrizos. Still perform the carbon with the same alacrity, with the same eagerness, with the same zeal, even though you are not directly benefiting from anything with the carbon, which I will say tells us an incredible yisod in of itself, how we have to go ahead and make sure that all of us do things with an eagerness when it serves our purpose. The shaila is when we're doing for ourselves, we do so with incredible zrizos. But the shaila is when we're doing for others, do we do it with the same eagerness and zeal as well? But I want to share with you something amazing. The great tzaddik, Reb Heschel of Krakow, says something so beautiful. And he darshins this concept in a dramatically different way, right? So Rashi says, listen to the words of Rashi. You can see it. It's in Perek Vav Paz. It's the first Rashi in the parsha. So Rashi says, "Ein Tzav ela lashon zeros." So we translate that phrase as saying Tzav, command, doesn't just mean to do, but command means to do something with zrizos, with alacrity, with eagerness. Says Rabbi Heschel, Imrak yesh Tzav tzarech zizuz yaser. Kevan shakadish baruch hu. Kevan shakadish baruch hu mitzaveh hayetzer mesiso shlo yekayim. So we'll say, listen to what he says. Imrak yesh tzav tzarech zizuz yaser. So we'll say, the Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says, we're going to a little bit of a play on the words. So Rebbe will say, in life, sometimes we take on things, but we kind of take on things in a discretionary way. What do I mean by this? There's something I want to accomplish, there's something I want to do. So what do I say to myself? I've spoken about this before, I'm going to try. There's something I like to do and I like to try. So we'll say, do you know what happens when you try to do things in life? Generally, they don't work out. If all you're going to do is try, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to put in effort. So we'll say generally, if you're just trying, that's where the Yetzer Hara comes in, and the Yetzer Hara goes ahead and undermines all of your efforts. Because if you're just trying, it's easy to get busy with other things in life. The words of Rashi teach us such an incredible yesod. Ein tzav ela lashon zirus. If you want to accomplish something in life, it has to be tzav. What is tzav? Tzav is a command. Tzav is, this must get done. Tzav is, there is no choice but to be successful. Tzav is, I must accomplish something. And I will say, if you want to accomplish something in life, it can't be discretionary. If you want to accomplish something like the death knell of any life initiative is 3 words. I will try. The moment you say, I will try, the parentheses of that is, I'm going to try, most probably I'm not going to accomplish. I'm going to try, but most probably I'm not really going to get, so I'm going to get busy with something else. I'm going to try, but my heart's not in it. If you want to accomplish something in life, it's tzav. Ein tzav el lashon zirus. You want to have zrizos? You want to go ahead and put yourself totally towards something? You want to do something with alacrity, with eagerness, with excitement, with zeal? One word, tzav. It can't be discretionary. It has to be a command. If you make your life initiatives a command, like a tzav, a tzivoy from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need to accomplish this, not b'Torah's discretion, not it would be nice, but tzav. That's how you have zrizos. I will say, in the closet of life, there are so many unfulfilled dreams. Why? Because we started off those initiatives by saying we're going to try, and we'll try hard. And whenever you say you're going to try, you give yourself an out for non-completion, for non-fulfillment, and for lack of success. Whatever you want to accomplish in life, it begins with one simple word or one simple phrase. I must accomplish this. Tzav es Aaron. And when you make something a tzivui, when you make something a command, when you make something an inescapable reality that must be actualized and materialized, then that is the guarantee for success. It is only where there is tzav. It is only when we hold ourselves accountable, not to try, but to accomplish, that true accomplishment actualizes and fulfilled in life. That's the meaning of Rashi, says Reb Heschel. Ein tzav ela lashon zirus. If you make something an inescapable reality for yourself that must be accomplished, that must be done, that'll give you the zrizus ultimately to make it happen. Shach will say a good Shabbos. We'll begin davening hopefully as soon as Moshe is ready, unless someone else is ready to start. Shkach